Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Chrysalis Effect. I am Monique White, your host, and here in the Chrysalis Effect, we are transforming mind, money, and manifestation. Yes, mind, money, and manifestation. And today I am super excited for the special guest that I have for you. She is going to speak to us today about healing through writing. Healing through writing. Today we have Miss Debbie LeSean of Debbie LeSean Publishing Concierge, and she's going to give us some strategies and some expert tips. So grab your paper, grab your pen. If you are techie, pull up that blank document, that test, that trial, that obstacle, that barrier that you bust through is not about you, but it is about the person that is watching you go through and how you are going through it, and to be a testimony through to someone else. And there is healing in telling the story. There is healing in telling the story. So without further ado, I want to bring to the stage and bring onto the podcast Miss Debbie LeSean. Debbie, thank you for joining and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and, of course, talking about my favorite topic. So I'm ready to get into it.
Great, great. So tell me, how did you get into publishing? How did this become, or how did God show you that this is your purpose, your calling?
Sure thing. So I left my full-time employment in 2019 and really had the thought process that I was going to be a life coach. I knew that my assignment is to move women forward. But I didn't really have a starting point. I didn't have an example to follow. And so I kind of started out all over the place, because my skill set is so vast. I can do a lot of things. And I didn't understand how to narrow down that one great thing that I can do and stay in my lane. So I was coaching people through career and coaching them on personal development and coaching them through some relationship stuff. And it just felt off, and for me, I've always written. I've been writing in a journal since I was probably 13 years old. And so I started going back into my quiet space and really asking God to help me find that thing that I'm specifically called to do. I know I can do a lot, but God, what is the thing? What is the further confirm for me the assignment? That's what I needed clarity on. And I started writing, and I wrote a 40-day devotional called What's Your Why? Because I was at that crossroad of figuring out what it is that God had purposed me to do. And so I wrote this 40-day devotional, and it sold over 500 copies in less than a month.
Wow.
It flew. I was in a couple of groups and started talking about my writing project, and my PayPal just started dinging. People were just placing orders to the point it overwhelmed me. And I knew then that writing was going to be my jam. Let me go back to the thing that I know how to do with my eyes closed. And so writing is it for me. And so I started off saying, I'm going to try out an anthology. I have been talking to women and coaching women, like I said, and just hearing their story. And I decided to gather a group of women for my first anthology called Bruised But Not Broken. And I wanted to tell the story or share the stories of women who had fallen down but had to pull themselves back up, because we all do. And women, just the feedback that I received was just that it was amazing. This is a story that's been on my heart and taken up space in my heart for such a long time. And it felt so good to get it off of me. And I was like, okay, that's it, And so I started coaching them, not just on how to write, but how to let go of that emotional weight that we get burdened down with when we experience things, but we keep it bottled up.
Right.
since late 2019. This is only mid 2021. I'm working on I want to say it's my fourth anthology now. I've helped over 30 women tell their stories, not just in an anthology form, but I have some women who come to me and say, my story is such that I want to tell it on its own. I don't want to share the book with other women. I want my book to be a solo book. And so I coach them through that whole process of, how to get started, how to take it from in your heart and not in your head. Because I've been working with this group a lot on that. Women have to learn to get out of their head where that masculine energy lies and get into their heart where the feminine energy lies and really speak from that place. And for a lot of women, that's an unfamiliar walk. And so taking the journey with them, it's been amazing.
You just mentioned something that I think I want to focus on. Well, not focus on, but I want to bring attention to is that you are not just a publisher. You are also a coach.
Yes.
And you coach your clients into writing that story and to heal from that space and get that story out of their head. And to flow from the heart. So I do want to make that, because I think it's very important. You're not just a publisher. You're helping your clients to actually heal.
Absolutely.
Through the process.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was on Clubhouse. I am on Clubhouse, and someone had invited me to be a part of their room of publishers. And the number of publishers who said, I don't really care about the heart part of the story. I give them a deadline and I need their story delivered by this day so I can get them published.
Wow.
But that's the job of a publisher. The job of a publisher is to take your story and get it in print. Well, I do that, but I do it from a space of the heart. And I think that that's what sets me apart from so many other people out there who are doing anthologies and publishing. You got to find someone who is going to, when you take off that Band-Aid to tell your story, you need someone who's going to help you address the wound.
What does it take for the female entrepreneur to succeed in the 21st century? Hi, I'm Monique White, and this question sparked a passion that burns deep within me, a desire to see the modern woman succeed in business. Taking my over 28 years of combined experience in various business fields, my own struggle to establish myself, and my expertise in professional coaching, I set up Triumph Services LLC to help professional women transform their circumstances by monetizing their expertise. Whether you are looking to transition into entrepreneurship or are looking for some mentorship in the field, I help you overcome and push through obstacles to discover and embrace your unique talent, skills, and ability, equipping you to harness them so you can build your empire. I know what power you wield. I see the potential within you, and I want you to live life to the fullest by maximizing returns from what's already within you. Schedule a connection call with me today at bit.ly/ever-transform.
And not just say, okay, take the Band-Aid off, tell your story, put on another Band-Aid and keep it moving, because you haven't dealt with the thing. And so for me, I want us to not only tell your story, but I want us to deal with the thing. I know my assignment is to move women forward. So if you just tell your story, then sometimes you can still stay stuck because you haven't dealt with it. I want us to deal with it, tell your story, and move. And so that's my job, is to help you move and not stay stuck in survival mode, in whatever the stinking thinking is that you may have up here that's been conditioned for however many years. My job is to help you move. And so that's one of the things that I love, and I will continue to do unless God tells me it's my calling is something else. Right. Well, I love that. Help you move. And another thing you said that resonated with me, that
you knew this was your calling, your purpose, because you knew how to do this with your eyes closed.
Mhm.
First came the ask, which we've heard over and over again, stopping and asking. But the answer was you knew how to do that. You were already doing this. You could do it with your eyes closed.
Mhm.
Can you speak to that a little bit? Because so many people are out here floundering, searching, and the answer's right in front of them.
Yeah. Sometimes we flounder and we search because we think it's supposed to look a certain way. And when it's presented to us and it doesn't look that way, we're like, that can't be it. So let me keep searching. And one of the things for me is I love showing women how to get quiet because we talk. We're women. Sometimes we don't like a lot of dead space. Well, I love dead space because dead space is where I can truly hear God's voice really clearly. So for me, when I was going through my journey of self-discovery, I had to get quiet from everything. I pushed away from friends, from family, from events. My children were grown and gone, so I didn't have them to deal with on a daily basis. But it was me and my thoughts in my journal, and really just writing what's on your heart. That's where we have to get out of. A lot of times we're still trying to make it make sense, and so we're in our head.
Right.
And you have to get out of your head and listen to what he has placed in your heart. We all have a gift. He's blessed us and purposed each one of us with a gift and a talent. And it's something that nobody can do Debbie like Debbie can do Debbie. That's why other publishers don't intimidate me. Other coaches don't intimidate me because nobody can do it like how I can. Nobody can do what you do like how you can, because that's the digital, or that's the godly print that God has given you. We all have one. And if we get quiet enough, he will reveal it to you. But you got to be ready to hear the message. And that means that it comes to the heart, not the head. And so once he's placed it in the heart, then your head can figure out what to do with it. But it first comes to your heart. And if you're not quiet enough and it's just a lot going on, you're listening to other people, you're on social media comparing yourself to others, you're looking at what friends are doing and wondering why you can't do it that way. All of that is stuff up here in your head. But when you get quiet and say, okay, God, what is for me? I just need you to make it clear and tell me what is that thing, and take an inventory. I go through this with women all the time. Take an inventory of what it is you do well. You ain't go to school. You didn't get trained for it. What is that thing that you absolutely do well? And then pray on that and see if God is saying, this is it. Now use that in this direction. You see, I've always been able to build relationships with people. I come from working at higher ed. I work with students and staff, personally developing them, pointing them in a direction of careers and classes and next steps in life. I needed to take all of that skill set, plus my background in counseling, and put it towards God's use. So it had been there, and I had been doing it for a long time. But now I do it where we get to tell the story of how God has delivered us from something, right? And so every one of my books, I'm a faith-filled coach. So every book is about giving thanks for something, showing that gratitude, helping to leave women better than we found them. Every author who works with me, that is my one requirement. When you write with me, you have to leave your reader better than you found them. What are the tips, tricks, and strategies that you have for the next woman who is about to walk into the storm you just came out of, to help leave them better, so that they don't have, why do I have to experience all the bumps if you already did it?
Right.
Tell me, Monique, what to do so that I can avoid these pitfalls. Some of the things we just going to have to experience, but we don't have to experience all the things. And so my one requirement, I will not publish or work with anyone if they are not prepared to help another woman through the storm. And so
I love that.
it's just great. I love what I do. I do.
I love that. Well, you talked about getting quiet. You talked about, taking that inner inventory. Is that part of the process of healing through writing? Let's talk about that process.
Absolutely. So when you work with me, we go through a strategy session where I need to know initially, what is the thing that's on your heart? What is the message that you want to leave with women? And sometimes it's like, I've been through so many things, I don't even know if I have a story. Let me just say we all have a story. I always tell potential clients, when you go in the supermarket and you see 8 different brands of white bread, will it stop the next company from saying, well, I'm not going to make no more white bread because it's already 8 brands? Nope. You're going to see a 9th and a 10th because they feel like, yes, 8 out there, but they don't have my magic trick, right? It's the same thing with telling your story. There might be 20 stories out there on divorce, but nobody can tell your story like you can tell it, right? And so for me, clients have to just get quiet and really think about the message that they want to leave another woman. What is it that you want to say to that one reader? That's who I need you to write for, is that one reader who is reading your chapter and saying, I need this to get over this hump. What's the message for her? And then we start to, kind of do a dig into what's been going on with you. How are you feeling? How is it impacting you personally? How is it impacting you professionally? What will it mean to tell your story? Like, what does it mean to get this off of you? What weight will that remove from your life? How will that improve your life by telling the story? And so the more we talk and we do some deep dives, then we understand that what I really need to talk about is this experience. Okay. So now let's talk about that experience. And everyone who works with me gets a guide on how to write. I tell you how to do your opening paragraph. I tell you how to name your chapter. I tell you how to deal with those emotions that will come up the more you think on your story. And so the group that I'm working with right now, it's about 2 or 3 of them I'm working with because they're in their head. They're in that headspace, right? I got writer's block. You don't have writer's block because it's your story. There's no way you can have writer's block. The only way you have writer's block when you're telling your story is when you're trying to tell it and cater it to what somebody wants to hear.
At Triumph Services LLC, we believe that you don't have to live broke, busted, and disgusted. You don't have to stay stuck and stagnant. You were created for more. Call today to learn how at 301-259-1623. That number again is 301-259-1623. Wow. Say that again, because I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, the only time you have writer's block when you are telling your story is when you're trying to cater your story to what you think somebody else wants to hear. And you're not writing from your heart. Because if you're writing from your heart, the words will just flow. And that's a fact. Because you're not making anything up. You're truly just telling your story. But when you're trying to write it cute, or I don't want to quite say this, and I should say this, and you start thinking more, well, maybe they might think this about me, or, then some of that stuff, that's thinking starts to creep up. That's when you have writer's block, because you're stuck and I don't know how to tell my story. The way you tell your story is just to tell your story right from your heart. And the moment I go through that with them in those exercises on getting them out of their head and back into their heart, the words just flow. And it's just like, oh, I got 3,000 words written. Yep. Now talk about it from this angle. Talk about spiritually how it impacted you. Talk about emotionally how it impacted you. Did it impact other relationships? And what did that mean? What did that look like? Oh, I can write someone. And so then they end up having to scale back because they have just written so much. But I just love working with women when they decide to get transparent. Because when you get transparent, that's when the breakthrough happens. And that's when you allow God in. Right there, right in those moments of transparency, when you stand naked and say, I don't have anything to hide, this is who I am, this is my story, then God says, okay, now I can come in and work. Now I can transform the heart and move you the way we need to move you. But when you keep it guarded, people can't get in. God can't get in, not the way he truly needs to. So it's just so transformative. And I really wish that more women would step up and say, I want to do it. I'm okay with it. And say the heck with any fear of judgment, because most times that's what stops women from telling their story. They don't want people to look at them funny. Right. I don't want nobody to know what's going on in the house. Or I don't want nobody to know that that's what happened to me. But you'd be surprised and amazed the stories that women are sitting on that can help other women. God didn't give us a test for ourselves. Like, he just didn't. The things that we've been through, it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with another woman who's going through the same thing. And it's my job to help bring her forward simply by telling my story and saying, hey, this may not work for you, but this is some of the tips that worked for me. But just being able to hear that it happened to somebody else and I'm not on this island by myself. Now I have a community because you can relate to me. Right. And that's what we talked about earlier, is finding that tribe, that circle of people who can relate to your story. And there's so many of us out there who are waiting to hear. You know, I'm an entrepreneur for the first time. I want to read the books of the people who have done this before me so that I don't make those same mistakes. And that's what telling stories is all about. It's just absolutely freeing, and I love it.
Right. And I think when when you hold it all in, it's like a cancer. It festers. Yep. And there's just something healing about getting it out.
Absolutely.
Getting it out. And like you said, finding your tribe and knowing that you're not alone. You know, and releasing that judgment. Mm-hmm. Because really all of that is a trick of the enemy. He wants to keep you from talking. He wants to keep your mouth shut. He wants that to fester and break you down. But that's not how God created us. First of all, we're speaking beings. Second of all, he can't heal. Just like you said, and I love that you said, you know, he can't heal you until you get transparent and naked and say, this is who I am. And there is something so powerful. Like, I remember my bishop used to say, you know, embarrassment is a choice. Embarrassment is a choice. He said it's so much power in just saying, I refuse to be embarrassed. This is me, and I'm walking in it. And because that's somebody else's perception, and that you're taking on. When you say, I'm not taking that on, I'm just going to walk in my truth, there is power in that, and there is freedom in that.
Oh my God, the freedom that's in that is just so liberating. Like, literally, I don't even know how to say it, but when you no longer care about what people think of you, their thoughts and their opinions no longer matter, you operate from a different space. You have different expectations. You have different manifestations. You have different goals and dreams, because then it allows you to soar higher, because you're not thinking, when you are weighted down by other people's perception, it literally only allows you to get off the ground, but so far, because you're weighted. Mm-hmm. But when you drop those weights and you just say, I'm free. This is just me. This is just who I am. Transparently, this is just who I am. And you standing naked before God who created you. So what you hiding for? Right? And he's the only one that can judge. So everybody else is just an opinion. It's just that. And for that reason, who cares? But people have to get to that space of who cares? And you'd be surprised. Some of the same ones who you think may judge you will probably applaud you, because it takes courage. The strongest thing a woman can do is stand in her truth, to me. Yes. You know, I talk about this, and I'll be talking about this to some events this summer. It's to hide behind a mask. and not be your true authentic self, to me is easy. It's easy to say I'm good and I got this, but it takes a strong woman to say I'm hurting today, or here's what I'm really feeling today, or I can't do this. Like, take the superwoman cape off and be your authentic self. That is a strong woman. So I get so tired of hearing that strong woman, may we be one, may we raise them. Stop raising strong women. Start raising women who are okay with standing in their truth and saying, today wasn't a good day for me emotionally, and I need to take a moment. I need some self-care because I'm operating in the red. Start raising women who are okay, and let's start normalizing us speaking our truth, whatever that truth looks like. But when we are raising strong women, we're raising women to put a lid on it and to take a licking and keep on ticking, is what an old commercial used to say. And why?
Right.
Why? Let them be vulnerable. Let them be feminine. Don't raise them to be masculine. And then when a man comes along and they're trying to be masculine, now you got a power struggle.
Right.
And she's looking at you and you saying, you don't need him, you can do this by yourself. That breeds other things. Listen, and I'm only saying it because I know it. I had a hard conversation with my mom. Like, you taught me how to be strong and to run when situations got rough as it relates to love. You don't need him. You can do this by yourself. You make sure you got your own money stacked and you got your own career and you don't need him. Listen, I'm here to say, I don't want to take out the trash. I don't do it no more. No, babe, the trash, can you? Yeah,
Right.
you can do that. Great. Thank you. Babe, my tire. Oh, you can do that? Okay, great. Thank you. Babe, I need gas. Oh, you can go to the gas station? Okay, thank you. I can do it. I don't want to. I don't have to no more. And it doesn't diminish me at all. So, everything. Listen, I point now. But can you? Can you? Can you? Absolutely. Because no, I'm tired of being strong for what? Being strong get you burnt out. Girl, bye. No, absolutely not. Stop that. And stop raising girls to think that that's not okay. It's absolutely okay to be feminine. Oh, sir, can you? Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Stop raising bad bees and go back to raising queens. But that's a conversation for a whole nother time.
That's a whole nother episode.
For a whole nother time. And I may have lost some people with that one, but I feel how I feel, and my truth is my truth. And so that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's the thing, your power comes from standing in that truth. And standing in that truth. That power comes from getting to that transparent, that naked moment. Knowing what you bring to the table, knowing what you need, and saying, God, use me, God, fill me, God, God, heal me. Because the healing can't come until you get to that place. So for the person that's starting this journey, for the person that has a story to tell. Well, we all have stories to tell. It's just whether we choose to tell them or not, really, is what it comes down to.
Correct.
Who's willing to say, you know what? I'm willing to take that healing journey. They did the ask. They sat down, they did that inventory. They're sitting down, they're ready to get transparent, to take off the mask, to walk courageously in their truth. What is the first step that they need to do? How do they start that journey?
The journey of telling their story, or the journey of getting quiet?
The journey of writing, getting quiet and writing the story, because they can't really tell it
until they
get it out, right?
Yeah. And that's, you said it. How do they start it? It's simply to start. Literally grab a paper and listen. There's a journal in my car. There's a journal by my bedside. There's a journal here in my office, because God will often wake me up with stuff on my heart. And when I first started writing, I was suffering from a bad case of insomnia. I just couldn't sleep. And I remember distinctly my grandma say, when God is waking you up in the middle of the night, he's trying to tell you something. So I was like, okay, grandma, I hear you. So I grabbed my journal and I literally started just dumping, and I would go right back to sleep. No lie. Like once I got it off of me, it was so freeing. I would pull a cover back up and sleep would find me instantly. And before I would just browse social media and stuff. And so I would say for any woman who feels like she's ready to tell her story, and stand in your truth, grab, it doesn't have to be a true journal, some loose leaf paper, heck, some copy paper if that's what you need to do. And don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about run-on sentences. Don't worry about this doesn't sound right. When I say write and dump, get it off of you. Just write. Let the sentences flow on, even if it's just words that make no sense. Because that's how it started for me. My 40-day devotional started with just words, and they weren't connecting. But this is what he said, and that's what I wrote, And so just write it and pray over it. All right, God, you gave me this, and this is what was on my heart for a reason. I don't know how you want me to use it, but I'll wait for you to reveal it. And then I look forward to that time with God. And even now when I get up, that's my time with God. So I get up and I go down to the living room where it's completely quiet and dark, turn on a little lamp on the side of the couch. And I'm like, all right, God, what are we talking about tonight? And literally I just write. Then I go right back to bed. And so it's been the start of books and concepts of books and the start of my nonprofit organization and just further confirmation of my assignment, scriptures to sit on and meditate on. So you'd be surprised again when you get quiet and really allow him to use you and allow him in, what it is that you will put out. And so your story will come. Just get quiet, find your perfect setting for you. For me, it's quiet, a cup of tea. I don't need the TV on. I don't need any music, nothing. Just me, my pen, journal, and a nice cup of tea and my bottle of water. And I'm in my happy place. I can write. I can write all day.
Right. And I like that you said, you're the quiet place that works for you. And I think a lot of times, for me, it's always at 3:00 in the morning. And it's while I'm sleeping. And I think and actually I had my bishop said, when you're sleeping, your barriers are down. And, God inputs stuff to you when you sleep because you wouldn't be able to handle it. You would be resistant to it when you were awake. So, that's when, for me personally, that's when things come to me. And I'm not really a paper person, but my phone is always, now how many people, and I think most people, their phones are right beside them on the bed.
Absolutely.
So I use that voice dictation mode. When it comes to me, I just pick up my phone because it's so fast. I can't, I'm not, I'm 50, I'll be 51 this year. I don't type that fast. I'm not like these kids whose thumbs and fingers go real fast on the keyboard. I just pour into, and dictate whatever he put on my heart. And I have so many different notes in different places, and it might not be for the next day. It might not be for the next month. But when I go back, because I flip through them periodically, then it's like, okay, now it's time for this. Now it's time for that. Some people say, people ask, where do you get the content? That content has been building over years. It didn't just come.
Absolutely.
And or even in the car. I mean, some people, their quiet time is when they're driving and they're commuting back and forth. So I love that you said whatever works for you and just to get it out.
That's it. That's the ultimate goal. It don't try and make your quiet time, your writing time look like anybody else's. It might be while a pot of water is boiling and you're in the midst of about to make some spaghetti, the water is boiling and God has placed something on your heart. Get somewhere and write it down and get back to making the spaghetti, right? You have to, and I tell my writers, try and carve out 15 minutes a day, because a lot of people will say, I don't have time to stop and write. 15 minutes. 15 minutes a day. And for me, when I was going through things, especially when my heart was feeling heavy, before I went to sleep, if I can get off what was on my mind before I went to sleep, I slept better, right? And when I wake up in the morning and can get the things that's in my head out, I operated better at work. I spoke to people better. I'm not snippy. I'm not whatever, because things are not carrying over from day to day. I'm getting it off of me. And so now as I'm moving through the day, I'm not still thinking of whatever it was that hurt me yesterday or whatever it was that angered me this morning, because I got it off of me and took my shower and I got dressed for the day and now I'm good. So it just allows you to move differently. It allows
Right.
you to operate differently, see people for in different lights. And it allows you to start some conversations with your family that we always say we want to do things differently. And I want the next person to be better than I was. Well, a lot of that comes with sometimes opening your mouth and sharing the mistakes that you've made. And so that the next generation can do some things differently. Listen, there's so many ways I can go with this as far as the benefits and the things that writing can do for you. Yeah, we really can be here talking for the next hour or so. It's absolutely amazing.
Right, right. Well, so you got quiet. You start out with 15 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine, as you get better at it and you get more comfortable with it, that enlarges. Now you have this collection.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step? What do you do with that collection? How do you get connected or just really decide whether you need a publisher,
Mm-hmm.
what publisher to get, the
Yeah.
different types of publishing?
Yeah, it's
Can you
so
speak to
many
that?
publishers out there that you literally can get on social media. I think I saw 2 or 3 ads today from people who are just, let me help you, tell your story. It just depends on you have to vet everybody who you are thinking about working with, because you really want to understand that person's core values and do they align with yours. Wait, do you even have your core values set to know what it is that you're looking for? So for me, when I'm vetting anybody, whether it's a potential staff person to add on to my team, or when somebody comes to me, when somebody wants to do a consultation with me, it's called an alignment call, because I'm looking to see, are we in sync? Do our values line up? Are we going in the same direction? Every person who has a story to tell is not an author for me, because it depends on what it is you want to do with that story. I want the woman who, and some people decide not to publish their story, and that's okay too, just to get it off and get it out of them. That's absolutely okay. So not everybody who works with me has to be published in my next book. That's a definite choice that you make. My job is to help you to get it out, and let's talk about it to make sure that you're not stuck, you're not harboring any bit of feelings, and you're not in a negative space, and that we've moved from this place, and now God has some more opportunity to do some things with your heart, right? And so that's me and my process. If you have a story to tell and you're looking for a publisher, you have to understand and see what that publisher wants to do with your story. Where is it that you want to take me? Because for me, and it's a tagline on every one of my correspondence that I send out to my authors, it says, thank you for trusting me with your story. Because our words and our stories are just that, it's ours. And we've become very vulnerable to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
And I consider it an honor that somebody says, I'm going to trust you with my story. It's like saying, I'm going to trust you with a piece of my heart. Now, what are you going to do with it? That's how seriously I take my clients. I don't work with a lot of women. There's a limit to the number of women I allow in the anthology with me, because I get vested in every woman who I work with. Because it's such a process. It's such a heavy process for me. So I think for the woman who's thinking about publishing her story, think about what it is you're looking for. Do you want to use this as a platform to become a coach? Do you want to use this as a platform to become a speaker? Do you want to use this as a platform to become a leader within your church? Or what is it that you want from this? And then listen for the publisher who is saying that she can take you there, not just saying it, but can show you how she's going to get you there. And then go with whoever you feel aligned with. Of course, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with anybody. My consultations, my alignment calls are free. And that's just at DebbieLeSean.com. It's plenty of ways to book some time with me and to see all the books that I've done. It's right on my website. So completely transparent.
Okay. All right. Make sure that you are in alignment with whoever you choose. And speaking of that, I know that you have a new book out.
I have a book out that just went bestseller, and I have one I'm working on now.
All right, congratulations.
I thank you. The book that I have out that came out the end of May, last week in May, is called Dear Mama. And it's talking about the parent-child dynamic. It's talking about some situations that parents have gone through or that children have gone through now that we're adults. And in hindsight, we can look back on some things and potentially talk about it now, again, in the hopes that people will do things differently. So I have one author in there who tells her story of having her child prematurely and having PTSD from the situation. No, I'm sorry. She had postpartum. She had postpartum situation after she had her son, who was born at 26 weeks. And, she smiled and told everybody she was okay. But inside, she was emotionally breaking down because this was her first experience dealing with the NICU. And what does that mean? And so she's candidly telling that story. And then I have another author who's telling the story of parenting with blinders on. I wanted my child to be great and amazing. So I overlooked a lot of what she did. And before I knew it, she was on drugs. And now what am I doing? So I have that story. I have a parent who talks a little bit about parenting with grace. Listen, you're going to make mistakes as a parent. You're not going to get this job 100% correct. But here's what happens when you make a mistake. So that's Dear Mama. But the one that I'm writing with women on now is called The Power of the V. And so a lot of people say the power of the V, and I'm not talking about the body part starting with a V. I'm talking about the power of vulnerability, the power to stand naked and courageously say, this is who I am. No mask, no filter. I am who I am. I was a domestic violence survivor. I was raped. I was, and these are women who have not talked about these stories since it happened to them in their whatever age. And now we're talking women in their 40s, 50s who have been holding on to this stuff in their heart for some over 30 years. And so to now take the Band-Aid off and say, I'm ready to stand in my truth. That's the power of vulnerability. And so we're talking about that in this next book, and that should be out into August, 1st of September. But this is a heavy book, and it's bringing out a lot of emotions. So we're just dealing with that as the women write, but it's a great book. It's so transparent. It's a great book.
I can't wait till that one comes out. Mm-hmm. And I know that you don't just do publishing, but you also have an event coming up in October of this year.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. The weekend of October 14th through 17th in the Virginia Beach area. So anybody who is on the East Coast, this event is for you. Well, you can always fly in. Let me not limit my attendees, but this is for the overworked, overstretched, overcommitted woman who pours into everybody else. This retreat is about us pouring into you. It's about refreshing you and telling you it's okay, and let's normalize relaxing for a little bit. It's talking about reigniting goals and dreams that you may have placed on the back burner, but now it's trying to birth these things and bring it to life. And it's going to talk about rewriting your story, change the narrative. Every day we have a decision to make, whether or not we want to do the same thing we did yesterday or we want to do something different today. And so this retreat is going to be about changing some things up in your life and walking into 2022 as a completely different woman, understanding self-care, normalizing self-care, normalizing saying, I can't do that today. And that no is a complete sentence. And just putting ourselves first, balancing that act of mom for some women and entrepreneur, or they got a 9-to-5, or they are just committed to so many things. But remembering that we have to commit to ourselves first, because again, we can't pour from an empty cup. And so that's what this retreat is about. It's for the woman who is okay with unplugging for a few days and saying, I need this for me. I need to recharge. So Thursday is our VIP day. I'm limiting that to a certain number of women because, again, I want to get to know every woman. And you're going to get some individual coaching and a VIP dinner. We have an excursion planned and some VIP experiences that are absolutely amazing. And then Friday will start our general experience where it's 2 days of workshops and speakers and sunrise yoga and journaling and meditation on the water, networking with like-minded women. It's at a great hotel in the Virginia Beach area. It's just going to be a good time, and it's not for the masses. So this is not the event that you want to kind of, oh, maybe this is the event that you decide to put yourself first and snag your ticket, because I promise you when this reaches a certain number, I'm capping it, because this is an intimate event. And this is one where we will know each other and we will pour into each other, and it's going to be great.
I am excited for it, for you, and for the ladies. It sounds like something that you don't want to miss. It's to renew, refresh, revive. How would someone register for that?
Yeah, just head to my website, debbieleshawn.com/retreat. And literally all it takes is $99 to hold your spot. $99 holds your spot. I'll send you a link for you to register. We'll talk about whether or not you want the VIP experience or if you want the general experience and what those payments look like. Here's what the payment plans are for those who need it. All funds must be paid by mid-September because that's what the hotel requires of me. In order for our arrival, we literally just walk in October. I have a great team of people who I have some retreat happiness gurus, and their sole role is to make sure that everybody at this event is happy. So I have 3 gurus who are ready to perform their assignment to the best of their abilities. And everybody's sole job there will just be to make sure you leave a different woman than you came in. And so I'm excited about it. I am.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Any last words that you want to leave with the audience?
Just put yourself first, whether it's telling your story, attending a retreat, having a conversation with people who could potentially be distractions from you. Know yourself, put yourself first, find your tribe, and operate according to the purpose and the gift that God has called you to do. Those are my last statements. That's what's on my heart right now.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Coach Debbie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I am Monique White. This is the Chrysalis Effect, and we have been talking with Debbie LeSean of Debbie LeSean Publishing Concierge, and she has been giving us strategies and talking on the topic of healing through writing. If you want to connect with her on her website at debbieleshawn.com. And I will see you back here next week, same time, same place. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.